The double slit experiment and what it says about reality. So I believe this experiment was originally done by Thomas Young in the 1800s. What he did was he had a laser pointer shooting at a wall. There were two walls, one that was behind and one in front of it that had two slits in the wall. This experiment was also redone with light particles. When the laser or particles were shot at the wall, there was a pattern that was on the back wall. As the first wall had two slits in it, there was really only two lines where the laser was going to make it through and make its marking on that back wall. But the experiment actually had two different results. The first result is as expected, only two lines on the back of the wall showing where the particles or laser was able to get through. But there's another result where there's many lines on the back wall, almost like an interference pattern. Here you can see what an interference pattern looks like. And it usually happens with waves. When two different waves clash into each other, they cause a ripple effect. And that is a part of the second result that was being seen. The thing that makes this experiment extra interesting is that they were getting interference patterns even when they shot one particle, one at a time. So they're shooting one at a time. It's either going to go through the left hole or the right hole. But there were also times where they got the interference pattern, where they were getting many lines, as if that one particle was splitting up, meeting back on the other side of the wall with itself, and causing an interference pattern with itself. Obviously, they wanted to see what was causing this difference. So they put a measuring device in the room with the experiment so that they can see what was going on. When they put the observation device in the room, the particle acted like how it was supposed to. It only went through one line or the other line, and it made those markings on the back wall. When they turned the measurement device off, it made the interference pattern. This experiment has been done many times with different cameras, people in the room, people out of the room, and the result is the same. Whenever the particle is observed, it acts as one particle and it goes through one slit or the other slit. Whenever it is not observed, it acts like a wave and creates an interference pattern. To this day, the only conclusion that scientists have been able to come up with is that particles in our reality act differently whether they're being observed or not. When observed, particles perform as expected, like one object making a localized marking, and when it comes to this experiment. When not observed, it performs as a wave. And since everything around us is made of particles, everything that we see is light particles, that shows that our reality around us is influenced by the observer. How does this change our relationship with reality? What is magic? One of my teachers, Brother Panic, explained it best. Magic is the art and process of using controlled thought to produce a result. When it comes to magic and rituals, they all pretty much have the same basic formula. You commit an act in the physical, whether that's drawing a symbol that is supposed to mean something, or doing a special dance, or chanting a specific song around a fireplace, whatever. All magic, they do an act in the physical. Usually it has some kind of artistic or historical frame of reference that imprints it on the subconscious. For the sake of this explanation, let's use an example like, I want $500. So I draw a picture on a piece of paper that represents $500. Like, this symbol to me is $500, right? You create the symbol, then you stare at it. You imprint the image into your subconscious mind. Here's where people get creative. They might sing a song or do a little dance or do whatever to make that image real to them. Then the next most important part of every ritual is to get rid of the image or the symbol or the act that was just done. You burn the piece of paper, you flush it down the toilet, you crumble it up, you spin in a circle and throw it over your shoulder. You do the dance and sing the song around the fire, and then you put the fire out. After the act is completed, then you're supposed to forget about it. You release the act. You go back into your regular day. You go back to doing like watching TV or make a meal or wash your clothes. You do whatever you were gonna do for the rest of the day, but you put the magical act behind you. You hold faith and you believe that whatever you did is going to manifest a specific result, and then the result appears. It definitely can get more in depth than that, but that's the basic principle of what's happening. So the question is, how does this tie back into quantum physics? Okay, so where does magic and quantum physics have an intersection? Where does the woo-woo become reality? Well, if the particle experiment, which I talked about in part 1 of this video series, explains that reality acts differently, whether we're paying attention to it or we're not, then that is a big mind opener when it comes to the grand landscape of reality and how it actually works. Think about it like a video game, like a large open world video game like GTA. When you're in the city playing GTA, the world around you, like the streets and stuff, is the only part that the game loads. All the way in the mountains isn't loaded because your character isn't in that zone. But then when you drive over to the mountains in the game, the mountains area is loaded. And sometimes if you're running on a computer that's not strong enough, you can like actually see the mountains start to pop into frame as you drive closer to them. You can see the game get loaded. That's basically how our actual reality works. Our reality doesn't manifest itself around us until we're observing it. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? I think the real question should be, is the tree even there if nobody's there to observe it? This is where the link starts to come together. This is where the science starts to become mystical and the mystical starts to become science. When I talked about magic in part 2 of this video series, this seems to be an inherent intelligence that all cultures have had for thousands of years that modern science is just now catching on to. You do the act with an intention, you're observing your reality. Then when you burn the image or get rid of the item that you used, or you do the process of forgetting about the magical act, that's you not observing it anymore. When reality isn't observed, it's in a quantum, everything is possible state. And it doesn't become reality until it's observed. Like, what's that experiment? Schrodinger's cat. It was like if the cat is in the box, you don't know if the cat is alive or dead until it's observed. The real truth is that the cat is alive and it's dead until you observe it. So many different realities and theories come on the table when you start to observe this as a fact. Multiple dimensions basically all exist until observed. This is where the power of your subconscious mind comes into play. This is where the first law in the 7 Hermetic principles, the mind is all, the universe is mental, comes into play. The particular life that you're living right now is only that way because that's how your mind perceives it and observes it. Another example I'll give, because this goes on forever. This is only the tip of the iceberg, the edge of the rabbit hole, and it goes millions of miles deeper. But have you ever been looking for something in your house and you can't find it? Like you're looking for the remote, or let's say you're looking for the ketchup because you got some French fries and you can't find it. And then you finally go and ask your mom, like, Mom, I can't find the ketchup. Can you help me find it? Your mom goes, I better not get up and go find the ketchup, right? Then your mom gets up, goes into the cabinet, and picks it up right out of the middle of the cabinet. You were literally there in the cabinet looking at where she grabbed it from. You were in the fridge, you were on the counter, you were everywhere where you thought the ketchup should be, but your mental state wasn't in a state that was capable of perceiving it. Your mom comes in from a different vibrational state and sees it right there, grabs it right out of thin air to you because you literally looked right in that direction. The ketchup was there, but it also wasn't because you weren't attuned to the frequency of being able to perceive it. This is why 2 different people can be living in the exact same reality and have 2 completely different experiences. I definitely have more to say on this topic, but let's open the conversation.